Hello, Guitar Smarts fans. Before you check out this podcast, I want to make you aware of a cool new place where you can interact with other Guitar Smarts listeners. It's a Facebook group called the Guitar Geek Hangout. That's where we hang out and talk about all things guitar. So, if you like the Guitar Smarts podcast, come and chat with Kiran and myself over in the Guitar Geek Hangout on Facebook. Maybe check out some pre-podcast clips and even get involved in asking and answering lots of questions from the other page dwellers. Hope to see you there. Over the last few years, Joe Bonamassa has produced, a whole number of artists. Eric Gales, Joanne Shaw. Is it Joanne Shaw Taylor? Taylor Shaw, Joanne Taylor Shaw, and Larry McRae, I think, recently. And he's kind of him and Josh Smith have been going out and producing all these fantastic blues artists and helping them out. And I think King have got to be on that list. Greetings, welcome back to the Guitar Smarts podcast. If you're an everyday gigging guitarist, this is the podcast for you. On the 20th of October, Kiran and myself managed to get together in person for the first time in ages to go and see the band King at the 1865 in Southampton here in the UK. Fantastic venue. If you've never heard of King, but you enjoy blues-influenced, well-written, guitar-orientated rock music, then you'll be hugely impressed by their music. The level of musicianship present in this band is just really second to none, and is evident on each and every exceptionally well-written song the band has in their repertoire. I will leave some links in the description of this podcast to their website and their Spotify page so you can give them the listen. But if you want the full experience, it's best to go to one of their gigs where they really, really thrive as a live act. They were supported by a fantastic Montreal-based rock band also called The Damn Truth, who were just utterly fantastic and well worth a listen, so go and check those guys out too. Housekeeping. Remember to like and subscribe to this podcast on your preferred podcast app. This way you will get alerts when a new podcast is released, and that means you won't miss the next show. If you've already liked and subscribed and listened to us regularly, then use the link tree in the description of this show to leave us a rating or a review. This is the best way to support us and helps us to grow. Use those links to get to our social media pages too, links to our Buy Me a Coffee page if you do feel generous, and links to some of our Spotify playlists. Come and see us on the socials too, especially on the Guitar Geek Hangout page on Facebook, where you can interact with Kiran and myself and many other guitar nerds like us. Anyway, that's enough from me. Let's get to it. Hey, Kiran, a long time no see, Kiran.
Hello, mate. All right.
Yeah, good. How are you today? You well?
I'm really good. I haven't seen you for a matter of hours.
A matter of hours, yeah, I know. Mate, what a great gig yesterday.
Oh, man. So, for our listening audience, we actually got to meet up face to face in person, which hasn't happened for a while, has it?
Not for a long time.
And not only that, we got to go out and actually go and watch some live music.
Yeah. Oh.
And boy, did we watch some live music. I'm still buzzing.
Me too. Great venue, great sound, great bands. It was just spot on. Just what the doctor ordered. It's been too long since I've been to a decent gig.
Oh, man.
And a perfect kind of gig as well. I love those kind of gigs. They're not too big. Those kind of, maybe up to about 1,000 people venues, with good touring, professional bands, decent artists that, are still at that level but still really kicking it out of the park. And yeah, man, let's get straight into it as well. Let's talk about it, let's talk
so
about
I don't think we're going to talk about anything else today, are we? This is quite a rarity. This is we should get some royalties or something, because there's nothing else I really want to talk about today.
I've got a couple of things I wanted to mention, but this is the main thing, the gig.
This is the main
last
thing.
night.
So we went to go and see a gig of a band that we've both seen before, and I think we've even mentioned the band on the show before in various episodes.
Yeah,
isn't it one of Papa Oliver's favourite bands?
It is, yeah, one of my dad's favourites as well. Yeah.
So we went to go and watch King last night in Southampton, a city I used to live in for many years on the south coast of the UK. So nice to go back there. I'd never been to this venue before. it was called. What was it called? The 1865?
I think so, yeah. The 1865 or the 1895.
1865, I think, maybe.
Should know. Yeah, I think it was the 1865. Yeah.
But cool venue, right? It was like definitely like an old school like music club, which I haven't seen for a long time. I've been to a lot of arenas and stadiums recently to watch live acts, but this was like a proper, really welcoming, like nice atmosphere, like no queue at the bar, just people there for the music. And to really be into the music. There's no other agenda there. There's no food being served. There's no other entertainment going on. It's just a stage with a great acoustics in the room and a small enough venue where you can feel really like close to the band, and everyone was there for the music. And yeah, that was really nice. That was really good.
It was fantastic. That's a really great venue. I really recommend anyone, on the south coast of the UK, which I know is only a very small fraction of our listenership, but if you're ever in the south coast of the UK, go to Southampton, try and find a gig at that venue. 1865, yeah. The 1865. We're going to have to find out why it's called that, but I'm guessing that's the building age. But But anyway, man, oh my God. I mean, like we've seen a lot of live artists, right? We've gone to go and see a lot of bands that we like. And there's always like a critical eye and a kind of, element of not there to criticize per se, but to kind of like critique it overall, what we liked, what we didn't like. But I think I can speak on behalf of both of us when I say by the end of it, we were just thoroughly delighted with the entire thing from start to finish. Yeah. It was just great. Wasn't it?
Wow.
Great? Just great music. I mean, for a start, their songs are all fantastic. Alan Nimmo and Stevie Nimmo, the two brothers that have performed together before. They used to go out as the Nimmo brothers, and they've also gone out separately as their own thing. The Stevie Nimmo band and King King. King King is now Alan Nimmo and Stevie Nimmo on guitar as well, and then the rest of the guys. But just got this really mature set of songs now. That you only get after having so much, time behind you doing this year in, year out, right? And it kind of shows. I mean, it just felt like we were watching this really kind of mature, experienced and, top level band, performing great songs, right? I
mean, beyond tight. There was no.
It's ridiculous.
I mean, just the way, and this is the first time I've seen this lineup for King King. Like, so I got into the Nimmo brothers like back in, I don't know, like the early 2000s, like 2005, something like that, 6 maybe. There was this album that came out, actually it was about 2009, I think, this album, Picking Up the Pieces, which was the Nimmo brothers. Like that, for people that haven't heard that Nimmo brothers album, Picking Up the Pieces, that got me re-excited back in 2009 about like blues rock again, because I was still listening to like stuff that I've been listening to for a long time without getting anything fresh and exciting and that had a contemporary feel, but also acknowledged like a lot of the stuff that had come before it. And that just blew my mind, that album. It's, if you like riff-driven blues rock with a lot of really kind of gnarly vocals and stuff, that Nimmo brother album is amazing. There's 2 tracks on it, All Because of You and Nothing in Chicago, which are just I mean, the whole album is amazing. But this was the first time I'd ever seen King King, and I've seen King King as a band a few times over the years with various different musicians, and they don't change musicians and lineup that often, but this was a fairly major reworking of the lineup for me. It was like different bass player, different Hammond player, different drummer to that which I'd seen in the previous lineups, but also the first time for me where I got to see the brothers like Stevie and Alan together playing, because because Alan Nimmo's been touring King King, and it's his band in effect, right? He's been touring that band for a long time without his brother, so that was special for me to be able to see both of those two, in a band now together as King King. It was amazing. Oh,
it was fantastic, absolutely brilliant, and just great songs as well. I mean, just to hear a night of music where it's kind of the music's written for the guitarist, isn't it? It's do you know what I mean? It's like to hear music all night that is written by a guitarist from a guitarist kind of perspective of music it's just such a pleasure if you're a guitarist to not just go and listen to a great band, but to kind of just experience a night of fantastic guitar playing as well. But you mentioned the drummer, right? Oh my God. That drummer, the new drummer he's got, I can't remember the name, and actually I should make a point of mentioning the names of these people when I do the intro for the podcast, which I will do. Yeah. But the drummer was absolutely fantastic. Alan Nemo's always had great drummers. You know, the previous drummer, I think a guy called Wayne Proctor, something like that. Yeah. Who was a different kind of drummer than this guy. This guy's a bit more of that. What we were saying is a bit more of a Simon Phillips kind of thing.
He had the Toto sound, right?
He did have the Toto.
He had the Simon Phillips toms, the kick drum that just was tight thud. And punchy, but thudded you right in the chest, but not in an unpleasant way. There was plenty of times where we were just very, very excited about the drummer.
But he had like serious chops, but great feel. But like King King's last drummer, Wayne Proctor, was much more of a feel guy, a bit more of a kind of a Steve Jordan kind of thing, you know, where he was, instead of having like 5 toms, you know, he used to have like 1 rack tom, 1 floor tom kind of thing. And he was much more of like the groove kind of guy and a bit more minimalist, but still just an amazing drummer. And this guy he's got now could do this pretty much the same thing as well, but obviously just a bit more of a technical guy. But what a pleasure to listen to him play. The Hammond guy, the keys guy as well, just a brilliant.
So Johnny Dyke was on keys.
Yeah, that's the guy
called Andrew Scott was on drums, and just killer musicians, man.
Absolutely. Just a solid performance the whole night. Just fantastic sound.
I'm gonna go out there. I'm gonna go out there and say it, man. I think last night confirmed for me, Alan Nemo is up there in my top 5 greatest guitar players of all time for me.
Yeah.
Arguably the best live player that I've seen, and he's in some strong company there. I mean, I've seen Clapton live a couple of times. I've seen Mayer live a bunch of times, Slash a bunch of times. They're all like my idols and icons, but I don't know, man. Maybe because it's just because I saw him last night and I'm still buzzing about it. But I haven't felt that excited about seeing a live band and a guitar hero like that. And he is a guitar hero. I'm still buzzing today just listening to his stuff. But it wasn't just like guitar playing for guitar playing's sake, right? Their songs are belters, man. They've got some guitar hooks that just absolutely stay with you. They've got some vocal hooks and backing vocals that just get into your ear, man. They write incredible songs. I'm blown away. I'm absolutely blown away by what I saw last night. It was from start to finish an absolute tour de force. Standout tracks for me was so this is ones that if you guys haven't listened to King out there, go to Spotify, all the albums are there. Check out the Nemo Brothers, that album I mentioned, Picking Up the Pieces. That's a great album. But in terms of King, so I haven't listened that much to their quote unquote new album because it was new. Yeah, I've listened to a little bit, but not much. But that track that they played a couple off Maverick last night, but that one, I Will Not Fall. Yeah. Man, I think that's like my new motivational like song in terms of getting myself into gear for stuff. It's got like that 80s Eye of the Tiger kind of like vibe to it, but not in a cheesy way, in like a really cool like just epic blues rock driving ways. That's it. That for me was one of the standout tracks last night, as well as You Stop the Rain, which was off the 2015 album that they did. But that song almost made it into my greatest contemporary licks list, that we did the other week on contemporary riffs. But I didn't include it only because I thought I'm the only one that's going to know this one, or maybe you would know it as well. But so I went for it, but didn't go for it because I didn't think it was going to be popular enough. But it should be. And that's the point. Everyone should know this band.
Everyone should know the band. I mean, for me, my favourite track of the night other than maybe the encore. but I don't spend a lot of...
We'll talk about the encore in a minute. The encore was a whole thing, right?
Because that's the only time they didn't do a song of their own, and we should give as much credit to them and light as possible to the songs of their own. But for me, the highlight was "Long History of Love." And he introduced it as this is King King's blues. Basically, it's like a slow ballad, and but man, it's just such a fantastically well written song. Like, not easy to write slow songs that are good.
They're not,
but they can really do it, as well as do some really great rockers. But that one performed last night was just, the guitar solo was just, I was just blown away after that. And, that's another great track. Every track was fantastic. The faster stuff, the slower stuff. They really connect with their own music. It's the thing that you can see the most when they're performing you can see it's so much joy for them to be playing their own songs. And Alan's singing is just ridiculous as well. Sorry to interrupt this conversation. However, if you've made it this far, you should definitely subscribe to the show on your favourite podcast app. Go and do that now, then come right back. Welcome back. To be able to hear him sing is just as amazing to hear him play guitar, as well as Stevie. Stevie's a great singer too, and they were just all on form last night.
It's phenomenal. It's honestly like the highest caliber of, for me, musicianship that does something for me, right? Because it's got these great songs that they've written. It's got the guitar playing and style that completely works for me, right? I'm not somebody that necessarily will go to a Steve Vai concert and stand there on the front row and just analyze all of his legato and go, this guy is a genius. I can appreciate his genius, but it doesn't move me emotionally. It moves me in an intellectual way, but then I get a little bit fatigued by it and want to go and listen to something that makes me have some sort of more visceral emotion.
Yeah.
This stuff we listened to last night with King is that for me. It ticks all of those intellectual guitar playing stuff, songwriting stuff, but emotionally connects with me, the kind of, tones of the instruments and the way that they play. But exactly as you said, Matt, there's this performance that comes with it because they're so tight and they're so accomplished that you also get a show because, and Alan is a great frontman in every sense. He's like funny, engaging, he commands the audience, he leads the band as a kind of proper band leader should. So not only are you getting, I've been seen, I won't name any names because that's not a nice thing to do, but I've been to go and see like big named artists, and you get there and you go, yeah, it sounds good and it sounds nice, but there's no showmanship, there's no like
performance.
Yeah. It's just like they're going through the motions, and you just think, well, that was great, but I'm left feeling a bit cold. Yeah. Even though it sounded great and they played well. These guys put on a show and it felt, like, considering this was like the last show or one of the last shows of this leg of a very long European tour. Yeah. It felt like I was watching a fresh band that had just come out of the studio and were keen to like play and hadn't played live for a long time because they weren't fatigued. They weren't like bored of the road. It felt like first day of a new tour, really, and they were all like they were all had energy, right? And I was like, this is ridiculous. You've just been gigging every night for the last few months on a massive European tour. Dear.
And dare I say it? Is it? Could you? Let's talk about like the Strat tone as well.
Oh man. Like this happens every time I go and see them live, and I haven't been to see them live for at least 5 or 6 years now. I went through a whole bunch of period of time seeing them live at different blues festivals, different little blues clubs, even some pubs in London that they were doing. And every time I came away from watching them live, I would go home and play with my Strat tone and try and find a way to get his Strat tone, because he uses chorus in a really beautiful, sympathetic way that you can hear it, but it doesn't overpower his Strat. And I never managed to find that particular sweet sound that he's got. And then he uses delay on all of his solos, but in a really beautiful, sympathetic way that just makes them sing without dominating. It's just perfect. But that Strat tone is, for me, like the holy grail of Strat tones. And that's how I feel every time I come away from watching him play. And he changes amps, he changes rigs, he uses different Strats every now and again, but has a mainstay of guitars. But I don't know, man. I don't think I'll ever get it, but
it was just perfect. It was just, it was just. It's like, seriously, just his we're talking about Alan Nemo here. We should, Stevie's Nemo's the same. They're both as bad as each other when it comes to how they do it. I don't know, experience and just, a gift as well, I guess, of just being able to just sound great. So much of it is in the fingers as well. We know that. We said that before. So much is in the their abilities as guitarists to be able to pull these sounds out of the instruments that they have. But just something about, like, just a couple of songs where it was kind of like, the band would come in and then, like, Alan might just, like, play a couple of notes or something just quietly, and you just immediately I'd just be like, it's just perfect. It's just perfection tone. The sound of that Strat cutting through, that band mix, and it just sounded fantastic every time. Everything he played just sounded awesome. He just got such a well-developed, well-honed sound as a guitarist.
Sickening. I want to hate him, but I can't, because he just is so bloody good and entertaining and so engaging. I mean, don't let it become like your relationship with John Mayer. I can't. I don't think it ever will. I don't think
Big
it ever
Ray's
will.
already pointed this out. Don't forget.
It's true. I love these people so much. I end up hating them.
You end up hating them because you.
So often when I go to, and you made a really good call yesterday, obviously this is rule 101, and I'm sure all our listeners do this, but like, if you've got a choice of where you can stand in one of these small little venues, go and stand next to the sound engineer. Yeah. And luckily the format of the venue last night is the front of house desk was literally plumb bang right in the sweet spot.
Yeah.
In the middle of the kind of standing area, but not too far from the stage. And it was just like, right, we're just going to stand there. And we just had the best sound all night, right?
Credit to the sound guy. I mean, he clearly, obviously, is working with them from gig to gig. And it's not just a local sound guy, he's the king sound guy. But man, he really just had that whole band sounding superb. I think the key is the drum sound, actually, for me, a lot of the time. If you get the drums sounding as good as he got them, that's kind of the foundation to layer the band on top of that drum sound and get everyone, just get everyone sounding great. It's the difference between sounding like a pub band and sounding like a decent live performance. But just such a pleasure to listen to them and kind of be there for that performance. Just such a great sounding band.
So that tone, like I go to gigs, as we all do, and oftentimes I find like a guitarist tone like has elements that I like and elements that are nice but not exactly to my taste, right? So I can go along to a gig and I can go, I really love his clean tone. He's got a great clean tone, but maybe that his overdrive tone or his lead tone isn't particularly to my taste, and I'd EQ it a bit differently, or it'd be something different for me, or vice versa. They have a great lead tone, but their clean sound isn't, whatever. Like Alan Nemo for me has the best spectrum of clean, crunch, drive, searing lead. Like every one of his patches or tones selections is for me the quintessential Strat version of that particular tone that I'm looking for. It's just like, damn it, you've literally nailed every element of gain stage that I would want to have, but it kind of all culminates from an original source material, I guess, which is where the encore comes in.
The encore, and we had a debate about this, didn't we? Before the gig, we were kind of like, do you think he'll do this song? Because he's known for doing, so he's been known for a long time for doing a cover of Eric Clapton's Old Love, which is just one of Clapton's best ever tracks, without a doubt. He wrote it with Robert Cray in the early 90s for the Journeyman album, I guess late 80s, 89 I think Journeyman was. And it's just this fantastic slow blues kind of ballad kind of thing, not a slow blues, but it's a kind of, you imagine it as like a modern blues, really.
I think everyone listening to this show knows that song "Old Love."
You should know it. You should know it. Yeah.
If they don't, you're on the wrong podcast. Honestly, it's like our favourite. It is my favourite Clapton song of all time, for sure.
Yeah, it's up there for me as well.
It is
without a doubt.
It is definitely up there, and I think that takes a tremendous amount of courage and audacity to go, I'm going to cover Clapton's Old Love as part of my band set.
For sure.
Like that song is too special and too precious to too many people to have a go at it. But
yeah, because we said, didn't we? It's like some songs you almost revere too much to want to do them when you're in a band yourself. Yes. Which for some people you might listen and think, "What do you mean? Surely if you love a song, you want to perform it." But it's like I said to you, sometimes if you love a song so much, it moves you in a way that you can't necessarily feel the same way about it when you do it yourself. So unless you can, that's the way I felt about it. That's why there are some songs that when we were in Roadrunner together that we didn't do, and I think as a band we made a choice not to do, even though we all love them, because of that same thing. Because we kind of don't want to diminish the how much you like a song, because if you can't do it justice night after night when you're gigging, you don't want to diminish your how you feel about music that you love. So credit to them for taking a song as big as that and still turning it into something that was their own. Because like Alan used to do this thing, didn't he, where he would get quieter and quieter and quieter with his guitar playing until the venue was so quiet. It didn't work for him last night. He tried to do it in a different song, I think. And I think some people in the venue didn't really get it. And which is a real shame.
No, there was a few new people, right, to the venues. They'd not seen them do that kind of thing before, so they were kind of getting confused.
They thought something was broken, maybe. And he even said at one point, didn't he? He said, for those of you who don't know, nothing's broken. We just got really quiet. And then he kind of carried on just as normal. But then they came back on for the encore and did Old Love. And it was really interesting to hear him talk about, he was introducing the song, about himself and Stevie growing up when they were kids and sitting on the floor in the living room watching videotapes. And obviously, Clapton 24 Nights was obviously one of the ones he's referring to, because, that's kind of the version of the song I feel like they were paying homage to the most, especially with the synth sounds that, the keys player was getting going and stuff like that.
Well, we debated, as you said at the beginning, whether they would play this, because we've seen them live before. I've seen them a few times and they've always played Old Love. Either towards the end of the set or I have seen them do it as an encore. And I thought, well, it's been a few years since I've seen them now. They're like 5 or 6 albums in with King, plus all the back catalogue of the Nemo brothers. And now there's both of them playing there. I mean, they have got like a stupendous amount of songs and really great songs, right?
Yeah. So
I said to you at the beginning, before they'd even started, I was like, they're not going to play Old Love tonight. And I'm cool with that because they don't need to anymore, right? That was when you used to go and watch them live back in the day, because they cover this song so bloody well, like incredible. There was an expectation certainly when I used to first go see them live that they kind of almost had to play it because they do it so well and people love that song. It's just like they've got to play it. But I kind of felt, for me, like that they are big enough now in their own merit, in their own rights, to not do a cover song anymore. That because the crowd expect it, and because they've got enough of their own great songs, and they haven't toured because of COVID. It's just like there's no way they're going to play Old Love, and nor should they have to, right? And you were like, no, I think they're going to play it. I think they're going to play it. And you were right.
But I didn't think they'd do it as an encore. I thought it might be mid-set, something like that,
Okay.
I thought they'd finish on something of their own. But saying that, there are so many songs of their own which are good enough to be that end of sets encore song. Man. Anyway, most of the stuff
they play Jealousy.
Yeah.
They didn't play Jealousy last night. Jealousy, I think, won them some awards in the blues kind of circuit a few years back. That's off a 2013 album called Standing in the Shadows. But that's kind of like their version of like Old Love, or something like this supremely awesome, like ballad, heart-wrenching ballad with like crazy killer guitar tone. I mean, go and listen to Jealousy by them. That's just a ridiculous song, which I was expecting, because it is one of the ones that won them a lot of accolades a few years back. I thought, well, they're going to have to play Jealousy as their encore, which they didn't. They didn't play that song all night. But after he told the story that you described with them growing up as kids, watching the videos and all of that, and the way in which they did Old Love, it started with all that synth sound that you hear in 24 Nights, and then they did excerpts from Edge of Darkness and Probably Me, like the little guitar motifs within that to build like the tension. And I'm just like, this is 24 Nights like happening right in front of me. They created that atmosphere, and then both of us kind of looked at each other, and Damo was with us as well.
Absolutely, and Nick,
friend of the show,
as
Damien
well,
Lodrick, and Nick White as well Nick White was with us as well, and we kind of looked at each other and went, well, they are going to do Old Love now. There's nowhere else you can go once you've basically created the setting for 24 Nights, and of course they did, which to me, like, kind of some ways just showed a humility, right? In which is like, they don't need to play that song anymore, but they play it because they love it. And they're still like venerating the musicians that influenced them and how they grew up as kids and guitar players. And they just love playing that song. You know, they don't need to. They've got enough great songs, but fair play to them for doing it. It certainly made our night as well.
It's almost like I think it's important to do. I mean, you kind of, what they're doing, I guess, when they do that song is they're showing you back past themselves, aren't they? They're trying to say to their audience and say, I know you're looking at us now in music now, but, you know, hey, don't forget to look back past us and look at the things that we love as well, what we listen to. You know, you're hearing our music, and our music's influenced by these people. I think it's important when you're a band, you're a host of good music, that you should also try and make some time for music that's influenced you, so that people who listen to you can go back and find those things as well. It's almost like, you know, it's like maintaining your link to the history of things, isn't it? It's important.
It is. But also on almost like every like person's moment of being an inner child, there's some part of me that likes to imagine those two growing up playing guitar and like imagining one day, what if we get big? What if we get good? What if we make it famous and start playing back venues? I mean, like, well, of course, it was written in the stars. These two are phenomenal musicians and phenomenal guitar players. But, you know, I'm sure they had that dream as kids of going, one day we'll be on stage, like playing, you know, basically 24 Nights and playing Old Love, you know, to a whole audience. And now they can. So why not? Just do it. Be your childhood self and live that dream, because you can. You know, why not? Why not?
Exactly that, because you can. And you can definitely see it. You can definitely see it in Stevie Nimmo's playing, because Stevie Nimmo took the first big solo in Old Love, didn't he? And really his playing is exceptional. And I got to say, actually, you can, more so than I think in Alan's playing, you can hear the Clapton influence in Stevie's playing. And I'm not saying that to say he just sounds like Clapton. He doesn't. He's a fantastic guitarist in his own right. But what I mean by that is, you know, watching Stevie stand there and solo over Old Love, you know, and you know, there with his eyes closed, kind of just let himself go for it. You can almost see, you kind of imagine that he's thinking back to when he was first listening to that music as well, and kind of there's this flow happening of, you know, just, you know, the things that he's remembering in his life and he's playing, and it's such a great moment to kind of witness. So great to see, you know, people perform like that. It's you know, it's actually, you don't get to see that anymore. Certainly not in the mainstream. But to see people pay that kind of respect to music they love in their own performances, you know, you don't get that everywhere. It was really great. But then obviously the other thing was, then Alan was playing guitar as well, and I just remember thinking, man, it's like he's got the 24 Nights Strat tone. That I wonder if maybe that's why I liked his Strat tone so much, is because for a lot of the night, it actually really was, it did sound like a fantastic, or, you know, kind of a variation of Clapton's tone on 24 Nights, particularly that big band section of 24 Nights when he does Old Love. A little bit dirtier, a little bit more compressed, but the bass tone is that for a modern era. You know, I mean, that's probably why we like it, right? Because we grew up
listening to 24 Nights and thinking that was the best Strat tone that we'd ever heard, and it just wailed. And I think for whatever it's based on, it's just immense.
I think it's criminal that those guys aren't bigger. I actually really do. I mean, I was saying to you last night as well that over the last few years, Joe Bonamassa's produced a whole number of artists, Eric Gales, Joanne Shaw. Is it Joanne Shaw Taylor? Taylor Shaw? Joanne Taylor Shaw. And who else has he done? Larry McRae, I think, recently. Joe Bonamassa's been doing this kind of, I think he's got his own label, and he's kind of, him and Josh Smith have been going out and producing all these fantastic blues artists and helping them out. And I think King have got to be on that list. I would love to see.
Well, they were on Bonamassa's Mediterranean cruise
Keeping the
tour
Blues Alive tour, the most recent one, weren't they? I think the one before that as well, before the pandemic, potentially.
I wanted to go on that one. I was really, really tempted. I almost bought tickets to it because actually it was Bonamassa, but also because it was King. And I was like, that would be great for me. That to go and watch those guys on a boat and go around the Med would be fantastic. But King for me, that was when I thought, actually, these guys are starting to get into the inner circle now. If they're getting seen and clocked by the likes of Bonamassa, and exactly to your point, man, as they should. These guys should be every bit as big as they want to be, because they deserve to be. I mean, from a selfish perspective, it was nice that we weren't watching them in a 100,000 seater arena last night as five little specks in the distance on a stage, an intimate little blues club, and you kind of go, this is brilliant, because they're just, it's such an intimate kind of
You're right,
performance.
But wouldn't you just love to see...
That's selfish.
Yeah, I know. But wouldn't you just love to see them in a venue like the Shepherd's Bush Empire or something like that, or, that kind of thing, it just not necessarily, like the what's the place in Islington called? Well,
it's the O2.
There's the O2. There's also the kind of, it's like I think it used to be a church, but it's another great venue as well. But people will be able to look it up. But I'd love to see them kind of performing, not necessarily, like you say, you wouldn't want to go and watch them in an arena, because you've had the benefit of watching them in a more intimate place, and there's something wonderful about listening to that kind of music in a more intimate venue. But I'd love to see them take a step up to places like the Shepherd's Bush Empire and something like that, a few thousand, ticket sales, and really listening to them on a scale like that. But man, what a joy it was last night.
Well, I think if our audience hasn't got it by now, then they'll never get it. But we had a great time last night.
We had a great time.
Please go and check out King.
Bonus mention to the band that supported them as well, called The Damn Truth, a Montreal band that were utterly fantastic as well. Really great, kind of like, I don't know, kind of reminiscent of like psychedelia, kind of late 60s psychedelic rock, but also kind of that 70s glam rock kind of style. They just wrote really cool rock, just rock and roll, wasn't it? It was just fantastically performed.
Considering the reference points that they clearly had and were influenced by, I just found the whole thing so refreshing. Yeah. It kind of cut through like a lot of the, I don't know, just nonsense that we've been hearing recently. And I was just like, this is like a bunch of, I just kept going, they're rock stars, man. They're proper rock stars. They are literally just writing great tunes, some great riffs, like putting themselves completely out there, glamming it up. Just that. But yeah, man, at the base of it, just awesome, emotional rock blues tone and tight band, and
really tight band, and they sounded great. So I'd recommend you check those guys out as well. Check out a band called The Damn Truth, a Montreal band. They've been supporting King on this tour, so hopefully it's been successful for them. But they're cool.
They were awesome. What a great night, mate! I'm buzzing for that, and we've got some more trips out soon, which is going to be good, and we're going to take the podcast and do some recording and stuff there, on site. So we'll talk about that at the end of the show, because that might be our next recording. But what else is on your mind today, buddy? Other than the incredible gig we saw last night. Yeah, I wanted to just talk about Joe Bonamassa again.
Well, not necessarily Joe Bonamassa, but he's got. Do you remember, like a couple of years ago, he did this? He's always done almost like an annual collaboration with Epiphone, based on a guitar he owns or something,
Yes.
a couple of years ago,
Yes.
he did this beautiful Epiphone Black Beauty, which was based on
Yes.
a 58 Strat custom Strat, not 58 custom Les Paul.
Les Paul.
Yeah, Epiphone Strat, because based on a 58 custom Black Beauty, and then last year, I think it was last year, him and Epiphone did a collaboration where they did an Epiphone version of his Lazarus 59 Les Paul.
Oh man, I love the whole story behind Lazarus.
Yeah, exactly.
Literally being the Gibson that he found.
That's right, the 59.
Found.
Yeah, somebody
He has a habit
brought
of
to
finding
him.
these 59.
Yeah. Well, I think when you're connected like he is, that he's probably getting phone calls every day, being offered vintage instruments, right?
For sure, for sure. So yeah, Epiphone, you're right. I'd forgotten Epiphone did a version of Lazarus. I mean, it's basically a 59 with a really nice refinish on it, and but it's a great sounding guitar by all accounts. And didn't he do an Epiphone version of his gold top, the one with like all the black hardware?
I think he did. I'm sure a while back. Yeah, he did with a it was a dark back, wasn't it? I think
that's right. That's right, because that wasn't his first Gibson signature. Was his Bonamassa gold top?
Yes,
with the black hardware and the dark back that I love on a gold top.
That's right.
And I'm sure they did an Epiphone version of that as well.
I think so. I think you're right, and I think that's possibly where this kind of run of things started. And what was interesting about the Lazarus guitar is that they made some slight changes to the spec of a standard Epiphone that I think really made it kind of just that bit more comparable to a Gibson instrument as well. Like the long tenon neck joint into the guitar. Just I think the wood choices and the scale length were more equivalent to the Gibson, and it had the burst bucker pickups in. So you were getting, you were paying more than usual for your Epiphone Les Paul, but you're getting closer to the Gibson guitar that is 3-4 times the price. Do that.
But sadly, Gibson won't do that. When you go and buy like a Slash Signature or some other stuff, you're basically getting the standard with a different finish on it, and not even the same like hardware or pickups that the artist uses. And that's why I love what Epiphone do. Because they do charge a little bit more money for it, but then they put in stuff that makes you go, it's worth paying for, because I'm getting those additional appointments which make this guitar better than the standard run-of-the-mill stuff. It's not just a new finish and an artist's signature on the headstock. It's actually genuinely an attempt to go premium on the Epiphone brand and put some nicer kit on it, which is like, good on you, Epiphone.
That's exactly the point. I think it's not that it's not just that it's like a commercial endeavor to try and create a run of instruments and just to kind of make somebody some money or anything. I think what they're doing is really trying to kind of create an instrument that is well worth the extra money you're paying, and you're getting good value out of it, and is also going to maintain. I think they're going to maintain their value really well, these Epiphone guitars, over time. I mean, the new one that he's got out now is also, I think, based on a guitar that's historically more meaningful to him as well. So those ones I mentioned, the Black Beauty and that Lazarus guitar, obviously those are fantastic instruments and well-regarded instruments. So, if you know Bonamassa, you tend to know his guitars, right? Yeah. But the latest one that he's just done is this Epiphone 335. It was cherry red, based on a 62 Gibson 335 with it's got a Maestro, vibrato setup on it, and it's basically meant to be a copy of his 1962 Gibson 335 that he recorded his first album with, and then a few years after that, he sold that guitar to fund a move from New York City to LA. And he regretted selling it, and only in the last year or two he managed to track it down and buy it back. So there's
I know he bought one off. Didn't he buy one from GAC in the UK?
He did buy one from GAC in the UK 335.
That wasn't the same one,
that's
right?
Not
that
the same one,
60s,
no. But
335.
Exactly, yeah. That was when he was on tour in the UK, and obviously he did a guitar safari down to Brighton, right? And GAC's a great place to go and do guitar safari, to be fair, But
for sure.
So this this is based on this particular 335 that has got a historical meaning for him. It's his first album guitar. But I was looking at the specs of this. I was making a point of looking at the specs of this guitar in comparison to the specs of the standard Gibson, 335, off the shelf 335. Yeah. And it's in many ways it's almost identical. It's a 5-ply maple top instead of 3-ply.
Nice.
So the 3-ply, I guess, is closer to being a solid top than a 5-ply, but still, it's a proper maple top, and it's got Indian laurel fretboard instead of rosewood. That is, as far as I can see in the specs, the absolutely only difference between that Epiphone and the Gibson 335, except for the fact that you're getting those additional adornments of the Maestro, tremolo system, like what would have come on the original 62 instrument. But it's about a third the price of the Gibson. And I'm starting to think that some of these Epiphone, limited run guitars that Bonamassa's doing with them are, comparable in quality now to what you would get from Gibson in the standard range. If you're on the market for a 335 style guitar and you're thinking of going for something like a Gibson instrument, I think it would be remiss of you to not try one of these out, one of these Epiphone models.
Of course, man. Of course.
Because it's got the Gibson burst bookers on. It's just made to a standard that I think is comparable to the Gibson instruments now, on paper at least.
Well, look, Epiphone, let's be honest, have a great heritage in hollow body, semi-hollow electric guitars. Beatles were using these back in the day. Contemporary artists like Oasis were using them. Gary Clark Jr., I'm sure, was rocking a Epiphone 335 for many years as his main touring live instrument. You and I have discussed this on the podcast before. We don't have a lot of time. As much as we talk like tongue-in-cheek nonsense and take the mickey out of stuff, the reality is we are steeped in, if a piece of gear is good, it's good. And,
exactly.
and if it's cheap and good, even better.
It's
there's no brand snobbery here, right? We've got expensive and we've got really cheap guitars, but you get this kind of foolish nonsense about, I couldn't possibly play a guitar because it's got Epiphone on the headstock, or it's not this, or it's not that, and it must be cheap and nasty and all that kind of bollocks. Play the guitar first and foremost, and if it's well set up and it sounds good because you've practiced and you've played, and I've said it before, Clapton still sounds like Clapton on a Fender Squire, I would imagine.
Of course, of course.
But yeah, Epiphone make great guitars, and they're particularly their semi-hollow stuff, like the 335 stuff, and the old Epiphone Dots and Casinos and all of that. Those were legendary guitars. So they've got a heritage in this area. But I love the fact that they're putting some really nice, tasty kit, Graphtec nuts, burst bucker pickups, Gibson ones into these guitars. Good.
It's great, man. I think
so. Are you buying one?
Check them out.
You get
Of course not.
Have you got a 335? You haven't, have you?
No, I haven't. I would love one, but I've got the Gretsch, haven't I? So, which is kind of like my semi-hollow box ticked. Yeah. I do love that guitar. But I would also love eventually like a 335 style, thing. Actually, I'd quite like an Epiphone Riviera. So, Riviera, one of those style instruments would be great. So it's like 335 style, but just a bit more of a classic kind of look and feel. But
nice.
I always want guitars. There's always things I want to buy.
Well, on that note, we're going somewhere fun in a couple of weeks.
Exactly.
So there is the Kempton Park Guitar Show, which is taking place. I've been to it a few times, but it's the first time you and I are going to it, right? What date is it on? It's like, is it on Sunday? It's Sunday the 30th, isn't it?
Sunday the 30th. And to be honest, this podcast will probably be out the day after that. Yeah. So if you're listening to this on the day we released it, we went to the guitar show yesterday.
How confusing. How confusing.
Sorry, mind broken. My mind
We're time traveling again. Well, let's put something on our social media then to let people know we're going to be there. And anybody that does listen to the show and happens to find themselves at the Kempton Park Guitar Show in the UK next couple of weeks on the 30th, Sunday the 30th of October, come and say hello and tell us what you like and what you don't like about the show. And we'd be delighted to meet you.
That's a great idea. And we'll go and have a look around, and we'll report back on what our findings were, in the guitar show. Looking forward to it. I need to look at who's exhibiting and who's going to be, bringing stuff to the show, and looking forward to it.
Yeah, man, it's a good guitar show. You get all kinds of weird and wonderful stuff there. You get some good guitars there. You get some trash guitars there. You get some odd guitars there, and then you get some cool little, like the last time I went, it was heavily dominated by really unknown luthiers.
Right. Okay.
So like Crimson Guitars had a stand there, but they were like one of the more well-known ones. Like, but all these other incredible British luthiers just come out of the woodwork, and you go, "Oh my god, I feel like a kid in a candy shop. Like, who are these people?" And, yeah, amazing, good stuff. Good stuff. I'm leaving my wallet at home. I've got children.
Wise.
I can't keep buying guitars. Oh, well, let's see what we end up with. Well, you need a new wiring harness and some pots and bits and pieces like that. You'll get some great deals on all of that there if you want to get some Les Paul wiring harnesses and stuff.
That's a good point, actually. Yeah, that is something. Although I did recall, I did put in a new wiring harness on the Les Paul previously. I just didn't wire it up brilliantly. So I think I'm going to stick with the components I've got. And I've put in the new. Kieran, you're so kind for my birthday, surprising me with a new set of pickups for my Les Paul. And I've got them in. You can see just behind me now. Obviously, our listeners can't see, but I've got them in. I love the way they look. I've got them in, and the cables are pulled through to the cavity, but I just haven't done the soldering. And that's what this little thing is on the behind me. That's my soldering iron kit. I'm going to do it later.
Oh, you're going to solder all of it?
Get it done. Yeah, so I've just been so busy with work. I just haven't had the chance to actually sit down and set up properly, with the iron and get things soldered in. But can't wait to get them soldered in and just try that and just get these things fine-tuned in terms of pickup height and getting them sounding good and just great. Can't wait.
Sounds like you got a fun afternoon planned. Actually, that reminds me, I've got a guitar that I need to get out the door today. It's got a Floyd Rose on it, so I've been putting that one off. But yes, that one will get stripped down and set up today.
Oh, balancing a Floyd Rose.
Always fun. Always fun.
Put a few hours aside for that.
Yeah, we've got it down to an art now. We've got it down. He says.
Fantastic.
Well, buddy, pleasure.
Yeah, always a pleasure, mate. And last night again was fantastic. What a great gig. Just, if you've never listened to King, go and listen to some King. They're on Spotify. They're on, you'll find them on YouTube. And go on their websites, buy their music. They're such a fantastic band. You won't regret it. And get out there and see them at a gig as well. Such a great band.
Well said. All right, buddy. Well, look forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks' time at the guitar show.
Man. Be good.
Yay. We're going to go shopping. We're going on guitar safari.
I do still have some birthday money to spend. I'll take it with me.
Oh, bring it with you. Bring it with you. I'll help you spend it.
All right, mate. All the best, buddy. I'll speak to you soon.
Yeah.
Take care, mate.
Bye.
Thanks so much for listening. Remember to go and give King and The Damn Truth a listen as soon as you can. If you like what you hear, then remember there are 64 other episodes going back almost 2 years that you can check out, where we talk about things like how to set up your guitar, the best budget guitar amps, music theory, and even a Guitar Smarts pub quiz. Go and enjoy them. Anyway, best wishes. See you next time on the Guitar Smarts podcast.